Hey folks, happy November. Can't believe we're already in the holiday season. I hope the chill in the air is comforting and it's a good time of year for a nice warm cup of coffee in the afternoons, right? All right, I hope everybody's doing well. For this month, I'm going to talk through a couple new things that you've probably seen just as we kind of work within our Google space, a new resource that a lot of people have been asking for a while. And then we'll include our tips of the month for using AI tools as well. As always, anything we talk about here is going to be in the newsletter itself with links and descriptions. So definitely take advantage of the extra details there. And you can always throw in a support ticket or book a training appointment to cover any and all of this stuff that we talk about for sure. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is within Google Drive. Some of you probably have started to see this last few weeks, but if you're working within any files in Google Drive, you probably started to see this yellow pending deletion label. And I just want to talk a little bit about what is that and what action steps can we take. So effectively, this pending deletion label is just a little warning that tells us that the file that we're looking at is owned by somebody who is inactive in our system, likely a former colleague who isn't with the district anymore, but curated a bunch of resources that are still out and shared. It doesn't mean that it's going to disappear immediately. There is just a realistic time frame for data retention policies and files. And so this is just a helpful warning to let us know that we should take care of, number one, where our files are stored. And then who owns them. So if it's something that we need to access going forward, we can take the appropriate actions. And so what are the appropriate actions? There's two steps that you can do to make sure that any files that have this pending deletion label are no longer tagged as such. The first thing you can do is, if you have the opportunity to do this, is to move the file, and it does depend on if you have edit permissions or anything like that. But if you move the file just from this little button here, the best thing we can recommend is go into shared drives and move it into a shared drive. Why do we want to do that? Well, for multiple reasons, but the main reason is that shared drives remove individual ownership from them. It's no longer owned by a single person. It's owned by the organization, like an institution, Haverhill Public Schools in this case. And so even if a person becomes inactive, that's not a problem anymore because the drive itself lives on in perpetuity. The other thing is, just from a collaboration standpoint, many of us and many buildings and departments have shared drives already established. So what better way to use our Google environment than to make sure that the resources you're using are then available to your department or to your building. And so step one for a pending deletion labeled item, move it into a shared drive. It will remove that label from it and then give you access going forward. The other option, if the shared drive concept is not appropriate and it is more of an individual or a certain smaller collaborative sense, is you can just go to the file menu and make a copy. And when you do that, it makes a copy into your own drive. You can name it something that's appropriate, and then you become the owner of that file. It breaks it from the one you're doing. It truly is making a copy, so whatever was done on the previous one is still separate, and you then have your own version of it. But that could be an appropriate step as well. But as I mentioned, the first option of utilizing shared drives is what we would recommend, both for collaboration purposes and for future proofing. And if you're not already in the habit of using those as a predominant storage item, we would strongly encourage that you do so. The second item, we've talked all the time about data privacy, how that's a requirement for any online resource we have. We need to make sure both the data that we have as professionals is handled with care, but certainly any of our students and underage folks. And whether it's an email address or a name or a code list that represents students, like, it doesn't matter what it is, the smallest amount of data that goes out to potentially to an online vendor needs to be vetted by us in technology for a data privacy agreement and by the curriculum department to make sure that it aligns with the district's goals as well. Khan Academy is a very popular website. Great resources. I think most of us are probably familiar with what it can be. And for years, they refused to sign digital privacy agreements with school districts until now. It seems like every year we get a bunch of requests to make this happen, and unfortunately, every year it's been the same answer of, "Well, sorry, they don't do that." But they changed their tune. We have a digital privacy agreement with them now, and so we just like within the last 24 hours unlocked it. It's available to use both for yourself and for your students, and so we hope that's a great news for you, and it's a great resource that you can use going forward. The next piece to talk about is it's our AI tip of the month. We talked all year so far about how AI is a tool that we have to use as staff members. Check out the policy that was kind of governs our use of it for now. If you haven't already looked at that to make sure that our boundaries are set, keep an eye on that. It's right on our district website under technology. And every month we're going to just keep talking about different ways to use it. I know a lot of you are already taking advantage of the different tools we have. We've talked specifically about using Gemini because it syncs with our Google account, and it has a lot of built-in features that are really nice to keep within that environment. So that is the tool I will always be talking about until there are any other official ones available. But for now, Gemini is the one. And we talked last time about just the basics of how to use it, just to get into Gemini.com. And I'll actually just pop in there real quick to get to Gemini. And we talked about how your history is saved from the corner here. We talked about using the prompts and then the idea of having some conversation back and forth if you need to kind of curate the ideas or the content that's coming in here. So what I'd encourage you to play around with next is the idea of giving a more elaborate prompt. And I have an example here, and I gave a couple more examples in the newsletter, but you can go to this level of detail in your prompt, where you can say, hey, this is what I'm looking to generate. This is the concept, this is the tone, these are the things I want you to include, these are the source materials I want you to go with. You can give it multiple criteria to generate an idea or to generate some content. And so what I'd like you to play around with is, besides just quick prompts here, let's see how detailed you can get to make something super practical. And this is where I think enhancing the curriculum you're already using can be really interesting, because you could pick a specific topic, you could pick a specific grade level or learning style. The ideas of incorporating vocabulary or maybe generating a bunch of example sentences for a certain frame of reference, I think is really interesting. And so I'd say for my tip of the month for this is see what you can do to really give yourself some frameworks when using Gemini to curate some more specific content. And then the other thing to play around with is within Google Classroom. If you haven't noticed it already, when you're in your classroom environment, there's a Gemini tab on the left-hand side, and it gives you a ton of different examples of ways you can use it within Google Classroom. And so play around with these ideas in terms of outlining a lesson, generating quiz, writing stories, vocab lists, rubrics, etc. See what it can do. See how it makes sense for what you're working on right now. And use that coaching concept. Just because it gives you a prompt to start and it doesn't quite get you there, keep pushing it and say, hey, do this, but then tweak that, and then see what you can come up with. And all in the vein of the work smarter, not harder type of concept, right? And then as a reminder, and a note with any AI tools, it's up to us to vet the content that we see that's generated here for both for accuracy and effectiveness. It's not a replacement for us as humans. That's not what it is. It's just a tool that is available to use in conjunction with our normal professional practices. So see what it can do for you, and if it helps you be more efficient, all the power to you. And then a couple other things to know. And again, I list different links in the newsletter itself, but Screencastify shared a bunch of great resources with us in terms of taking any video and turning it into a quick lesson. Because YouTube isn't directly accessible for students, this might be a great use case for it, where you can, instead of opening up the whole world of YouTube to students, you're curating their exploration with a targeted video, targeted questions that can be a part of it. So you can turn the video into a quiz. They have a concept also of live quizzes and real-time feedback. So you're watching a video all together as a class and then doing almost like a Kahoot style or Socrative style live quiz environment. Super interesting. And then they added a feature where you have a quiz that you have going on, but then you can translate that into other languages as well. And then if you use your submit feature where you're gathering student work, there's a linked lesson there on how to curate a quick highlight reel of all the student submissions, should you want to share that with the class. And then finally, the Canva folks put out a couple new features this month as well. They have a integration. Google Classroom and Canva can go together to do some quick interactive digital assignments right within Google Classroom that focus on using Canva as a digital productivity and media creation tool. So explore that. That's super interesting. And then if you just like the idea of learning more about how to use, it's like a digital integrated arts system that Canva can be. They have a course specifically for educators on how to use the platform to create engaging opportunities for students. So everything from digital journaling ideas, they call them magic activities or sheets, how to do collaborative projects, student-led video and podcasting. There's a lot of different ways you can use the Canva platform to create media, not just images, but also some interactive stuff as well. So check out the links there to learn some more. All right, and again, I hope everybody's doing well. Keep staying healthy, keep on keeping on, and we'll see you back in December.